the Messiah is the peg. And this word has been driving me crazy over the past 24 hours because it's popped up twice in a 24-hour span. Something I was reading I was very interested in, and then somebody else started mentioning this, a verse with this exact same word, which they were mentioning Ezra 9, and it's very rarely used. It's used 24 times. So, and it's an amazing thing when you see where this is. The word for peg is yathed, Y-A-T-H-E-D. In the Torah, it's used almost exclusively for the tent stakes. The only other time it's used is actually for the shovel. You have to have a shovel with you during the Exodus. And it says a spade. Now here's where it's interesting. The Messiah referred to himself as a cornerstone. He's the cornerstone of the temple. What's the cornerstone of a tabernacle? Is it not the tent peg? And if we have cornerstone in the temple, would we not have peg in a tabernacle? Now, you may say, well, you're stretching it. But the problem here is, in this thought process, it's an actual verse. So that compares it as we look at this word through here. Now, the only other time, other than, we'll get in some other verses, it's used in Judges and with Deborah, when Deborah is leading Israel. They're trying to go after Sisera, and that's in Judges 4. It's actually repeated in Judges 5:26, where again it's a song about this issue. But they're going after Sisera, and Deborah says to the commander, "Because you want me to go with you, a woman's going to take, basically deliver this victory." And so Sisera goes into a woman's hut, a woman of a friend that he knew, and she took a tent peg and a hammer and drove it through his temple. Now again, that's interesting that we think of this area of the head as the temple. And so we're getting a connection from, and it may be only for English on that. I don't know how other languages use it. But from a tent peg to the cornerstone and to the temple. Now, the three other times, the other times it's used are in Ezra. In Ezra 9:8. And Ezra 9 is an interesting thing. But now for a brief moment, the Lord our God has been gracious in leaving us a remnant and giving us as a firm place, as a peg in His sanctuary. And so our God gives light to our eyes and a little relief to our bondage. Okay, well, we have a little bit there. Now here's where it blows up. And that is in Isaiah 22. And this is speaking of our Messiah. And so let's deal with it starting at verse 20. In that day I will summon my servant Eliakim, son of Hilkiah. I will clothe him with your robe and fasten your sash around him and hand your authority over to him. He will be a father to those who live in Jerusalem and the people of Judah. I will place on his shoulder the key to the house of David. What he opens no one can shut, and what he shuts no one can open. I will drive him like a peg into a firm place. He will become a seat of honor for the house of his father. All the glory of his family will hang on him, his offspring, his offshoots, all the lesser vessels, from the bowls to the jar. In that day, declares the Lord Almighty, the peg driven into the firm place will give way. It will be sheared off and fall, and the load hanging on it will be cut down. The Lord has spoken. And I think we can see that peg is like a cross. And I don't care whether we deal with a cross as a T or a cross as a spike in the, basically, a big beam in the ground where they just nailed a cross beam over for him, or if it's a tree. The same issue would come in. But this seems a little weak, so let's look for more, because we do have more here. Okay? I mean, I'm not going to just lead you down the primrose path and not give you where the good stuff is. I hope I don't. And before I get there, I just want to deal with one other issue. And that is Ezekiel 15. Is wood ever taken from it to make... Actually, I have to give you the background on this one. Jerusalem is a useless vine. The word of the Lord came to me, Son of man, how is the wood of a vine different from that of the branch from any of the trees in the forest? Is wood ever taken from it to make anything useful? Do they make pegs from it to hang things on? Now, let's go to the big key on it, and this is going to be in Zechariah 10. And I'm just going to deal with verse 4. We can bring out a little bit more. From Judah will come the cornerstone. Well, we know the cornerstone is the Messiah. From him the tent peg. See how we've got that full connection? From him the battle bow. That's when he's coming back. He's coming back as that warrior. From him every ruler. So we have taken this word peg, and we would have thought the word as it's used in the Torah is just almost an afterthought. There's no afterthought. That was the Messiah. That's what was holding down the tabernacle. Those pegs are representing the Messiah. The smallest thing, the things you wouldn't worry about, are still having amazing, I won't say consequences, but amazing importance when we're dealing with the Messiah and Torah. The other issue that you would think about was Zechariah before the Messiah? And obviously it's before the Messiah, but in other words, maybe he's talking about King David. Possibly. Or some other person there. But the problem is Zechariah was written during the exile. And it was about 500 years after King David. So when he's talking about this is during the exile. What happens after the exile? They build a temple. What happens after they build a temple? The Messiah comes. It was a premonition of our Messiah coming the first time. And he's coming back very soon. And boom, just like that, I changed my outfit. The word peg means so much more, and it's weirdly enough not only giving us that sight of who the Messiah is. Let's look at it now. What I did before with the old outfit was the Old Testament. Let's move that towards the New Testament. When the Messiah says, whoever does not pick up their cross and come with me is not worthy of me. And that's Matthew 10. And I'll give you that verse here. I hope you can see he's relating an Exodus event again. The word cross is stauros. Now if you go down there, it actually comes into a peg. So that word peg just keeps coming in. And so it's kind of another analogy for the Messiah. But again, we're talking about tents. Let's think of it like this. Now, let's walk through Matthew 10 because first, and then we're going to make another analogy because this is really interesting. We'll start with verse 37. Anyone who loves their father or mother more than me is not worthy of me. Anyone who loves their son or daughter more than me is not worthy of me. So, that first test that we have in faith, are you choosing the family or are you going to choose the Creator? Choose the Creator. Go. That's a quick, easy test. Verse 38, whoever does not take up their cross and follow me is not worthy of me. 39, whoever finds their life will lose it, and whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. Did we just have an analogy there for the Exodus and those in the first resurrection? The ones who come out, whoever takes up their cross and follow me, is the one who they head out. They have the tent stakes. They go follow. They do the Exodus. And I'll bring this out a little farther than this in a minute. But then the next verse, 39, whoever loses their life, whoever finds their life will lose it. Whoever loses their life for my sake will find it. He's telling you about the Exodus right there in these 3 verses. Actually, really only 3 verses. And because your way out is either going, pick up your cross, your your tent pegs, and pick up your tent and go, or you have to lose your life for my sake. And those are the ones who are beheaded for refusal of the mark of the beast. They keep the Torah and they follow the Messiah, and then they come on the first resurrection. It's so, to be more detailed, whoever desires to keep their life is going to lose it. So if you didn't go on the Exodus, which is take up your cross and follow me, if you remain and you care about your life more, you lose it. You don't come back in the second or the first resurrection. But if you lose your life for my sake, then you live. You come in the first resurrection. So again, these are the these are the three. You know, if you're in faith, you leave on Exodus. If you didn't leave on Exodus, you've got one decision to make, and that is, are you going to be willing to die? Because if you're willing to die, you come in the first resurrection. If you're not willing to die, you're gone. Peg just came in so big. So we have this continually of real, where he says, take up your cross. And again, Staros, they want to show it all the way through as the cross, but it's actually started from a stake or post. And so we had it from the Old Testament, what it would be. We have it from the New. Now let's also throw some other analogies in here that we also have from the Bible. When he says, pick up your cross and follow me, pick up your tent stake, pick up your house, you're going to come with me, get your tent, let's go. Now, who is he? He is the peg. He's the tabernacle. So, and the tabernacle is a mobile temple. During the Exodus, we would be mobile. So it's the mobile temple until we get stability. When do we get stability? When we go into the land and we get our inheritance. Then we have stability. Then he will place it in the location which we know is Jerusalem, which will be among the inheritance, which the inheritance will be from the Levites, specifically the sons of Zadok, from Ezekiel 48. That's where that temple will be. So, but during the Exodus, we're to be following him, and we camp around the tabernacle. We camp around his tent peg. And the statement as well that the Messiah made to the wealthy man, says, follow, do the commandments and everything. And he goes, I've done this since my youth. He goes, well, sell your house, sell everything you have, and come and follow me. And he goes, I can't do that because I'm wealthy. Well, we have to leave. We're going to leave what we have behind. We're I hate saying it this way, but I think of the old TV show MASH, and they said, M is for mobile. Well, that's basically us. We're going to be mobile, and we're going to have new homes, and don't worry about it. We will be in the safest place to be. While he's protecting us, we know from Isaiah 4, verse 5, that he has this covering for us. The cloud by day and fire by night. But it's a covering. He also says, I cover you like a hen hides her chicks, and covers them and protects them. Because during that time, the tribulation, things in the world are horrifying, but he's protecting us in that mother hen situation. We think we're going to join him, but he's covering and protecting us while we do it. It's just an amazing thing that's coming in very quickly.